Good morning, Foundry friends, and welcome to Wandering Toward Wonder, a time each Tuesday that we set aside to think about the ways that we're cultivating joy and wonder and hope in our lives. My name is Will Ed Green. I serve as one of the associate pastors and the director of discipleship at Foundry. And during this Lenten season, we've pivoted a bit during Wandering Toward Wonder and had the gift of being able to welcome all kinds of folk to share with us their own experiences of lament as part of our Lenten series, Learning to Sing the Blues, and a part of our Lenten devotional this year, Lamenting in God's Embrace. Before I introduce our special guest today, who we're so excited to have with us, I just want to invite you, as you're joining in this morning, to let us know in the chat where you're tuning in from today. I see, hey, Michael, you're with us from Florida again. I am still so jealous of all those sunny pictures you're posting from the lanai. And as you're joining in, we want to know where you're coming in from too. So drop us a note in the comments and let us know where home is for you as we create some sacred space together. So I was reflecting recently with somebody that I've been at Foundry now for right at 5 years almost. And in my very first year in ministry, I had the real gift of getting to work with a small group, a support group at Foundry called Dealing with Loss and Transition. And that's how I met Jeff Dieterle, our special guest today. Jeff is the leader of Dealing with Loss and Transition and has for 10 years. Is that right, Jeff?
Yeah, 10 years. It's 10 years last November.
That's amazing. Has for over 10 years at Foundry, been helping create sacred space for people who are journeying through seasons of loss and transition, have a community in which to journey with and alongside. So Jeff, we're so glad you're with us today. Thank you for taking the time.
It's good to be here, Will. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to know, and I think I've heard this story before, but I would love to hear it again. How is it you came to be connected with this Dealing with Loss and Transition group?
Well, the group was started up in Foundry. This was back in November of 2010. A former associate pastor, Bob McDonald, and a member of Foundry, Don Lowe, started the group. At the time, I had been enrolled in Don's year-long program for pastoral care, the art of pastoral care. And so I was invited to be one of the facilitators with the group, and which was, really a wonderful experience because I was able to put into practice many of the things that I was being taught in the pastoral care course.
And what's been so meaningful about that ministry? I mean, 10 years is a long time to be in one place.
What's been meaningful to me is it's been very purposeful work for me, and that to be a part of, the power of being around people when they're opening up and sharing deep parts of their lives and being vulnerable. That is something I feel grateful to, and it's a real gift. It's also helped me in my own sense of healing. This is not something where I'm on high and a leader. I'm just a facilitator with the group. And it's humbling at times just to be part of it, but it's been a really rewarding experience also to see people go from a place of loneliness and feeling very anxious and moving through that. And even that if they're not aware of it at the time, seeing how their words and their show of vulnerability is helping the group even open up more. So it's this very synergistic type of energy of healing that can happen in making the space where God can enter that space and healing can take place.
Yeah. I mean, it's so interesting because we've been in this series on lament these last couple of weeks. We're continuing in that through Lent. And one of the things that I reflect on a lot is it's very easy for us to think about lament or sorrow or hurt or anxiety as an individual experience, right? But what you're doing is creating a space for people to lament together. What's been meaningful about that experience of communal lament for you and for members of the group?
Well, I think that is one of the powers of it. I think all of us can only get to a certain place if we're lamenting or expressing our disappointments, our anxieties, just with ourselves, and just with God. There's a power that can happen, and it can intensify the relationship with God when we share it with others. There's just a connectedness that can start to come between individuals. That can be just transformative. Often that even in our pain, we can feel less a sense of loneliness, experience more a sense of hope, and the understanding too that in lamenting as a group, there's so many things that a person can share something, and another person can resonate with whatever that experience is, or feel, sense parts of that experience or their story and what somebody else is telling about. And so everyone has a sense of less a sense of loneliness, more of a sense of connectedness, and it's sort of transforming and helping each other.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be curious to know, because you've been doing this long enough that I'm pretty sure you've seen most all there is to see. Why do you think it's so hard for us to move from thinking about lament as an individual experience to experiencing lament in the context of community? What makes that challenging for folks?
Well, I think that the challenges are that it's our society a lot of times does not create a place where it's for men and women. I think there's certain issues even with men about feeling very vulnerable, about being able to share deeply with who we are, to take that mask off and to let people know exactly how we're feeling, and I to find a place that is accepting. And that's sort of a foundational piece here. It's Ginger opens up, and I wanted to, the opening that she does, where, no matter where you come from, no matter what you believe or doubt, no matter what you feel or do not feel, no matter your immigration status, no matter who you love, you're welcome. And the group really is reflecting those values, really putting them into action, and it's through that welcoming, that a sense of, and creating a sense of a safe place where people can share, that it can have a profound influence on people. And also, all of us need to know that we're really heard by another. I think through another human being is actually a way that God enters in. And no matter what we're going through, when we are really heard, there's something that's profound about it. When people know who we really are, we're not feeling judged at that moment, feeling listened to, feeling respected. When we have control over what we want to share and how that unfolds, we can feel safe, and it can just be transformative in our lives and our connections with others.
Jeff, I've had the chance too to see you do some teaching and some facilitating in other spaces for us during this series, and we've done some talking about the Psalms of communal lament, and the way in which those psalms that capture the kind of communal experience of pain help move people to praise, which is exactly what you're talking about, right? When God begins to enter into those spaces and work transformation. Have you experienced that yourself, or have you seen that happen in the group? And what does that transformation look like when God is able to break into those places of communal lament?
Well, I have experienced it myself, and I've also witnessed it in others. There can be times in the group where it's a very moving experience, like something maybe it's someone is sharing, and they're thinking they're in a certain place, and something's reflected back to them, and they have an insight and get to a deep place where they're saying, like, I can't feel, I have no feelings that are really flowing, and then they might be touched about something and then start weeping, and the entire group is moved. can be moved by that. The group, as much as it's about loss and transition, it's also a place where coming as you are might be coming too. When you come in, you might be feeling joyful about something, and it's an expression of it. So people transform. Our feelings are like the weather; they change, and accepting where people are can be also welcoming, and that joy, and being able to witness and participate in others' joy as well as the loss and these heavy areas. And so there's lightness in the group too, as light and lightness. It's not just heavy and morose.
Yeah. And I want to invite all of our wanderers who are watching today. I see folks coming and going. If you've experienced moments of personal transformation and communal lament, to share those too. Jeff, the thing that you just said that struck me as so beautiful and profound is that you've got this kind of ever-changing ebb and flow of joy and lament, and the group is doing all of that together at the same time, right? We live in this world where we want to assume that our relationship with God is either good or it's bad, right? It's either right or it's broken, or our feelings are either positive or they're negative. There's either joy or there's sorrow. But it sounds like you're saying something different.
It really is trying to accept where we all are and all these parts of us that we may not claim, may not know about. One of the challenges that has come up at times, and I think it's reflected. I like it when it's no matter what you believe or doubt. There's some people that come into the group and they may have a more fundamental approach to Christianity, and but it's in this work, in this being together, people may be experiencing doubts about God, doubts about their relationship and their spirituality. They maybe have disappointment or anger in those areas, and for them to be accepted and not shunned, and to be welcomed, or not to say that you have to conform to this piece, that's not allowed here. You can't, you can't be angry with God. They can find a deeper sense of safety with it, but that surprises some people at first, because they're seeing things in a very particular certain paradigm. So that was that's been a challenge at times, but that's also one of the joys. It's just to be around and to develop these very deep connections, which really they're so nourishing. And I think there's such a hunger that all of us have for those types of relationships within our lives. And this is one of the places where they can find this. People can find it, but also spread that and outside of the group, and experience it with others, and carry that type of non-judging, listening to others outside of the group, and have that in other areas of their lives fulfilled that way.
Yeah. There's almost this element of permission giving, right? Like as we experience lament individually, it can be really, really easy to get stuck in that old paradigm we were just talking about. But as we do it in a group, we begin to find the permission to use some language that we've bantered around a lot in this season, to feel our feels, and to find some permission to let go of our need to control how we're perceived by others, or trying to control the way that we feel like God might perceive us.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. In fact, I look at it like that permission. Just as if I were to come in and announce everybody has permission, they wouldn't necessarily jump in. I look at emotional healing as a lot like, it's funny what we put on emotional healing. Like sometimes when we're not feeling well, it's supposed to be an instant cure for it. We know that, we break our leg or have a wound, it takes time. So time's an element. And I think in the permission piece, it's something that rather than explicitly stating it. It's implicit actually in the actions of the group. It's an experience of welcoming. It's an experience of being heard. It's an experience of being treated with dignity and respect. And some of those things come over time, and trust is built up over time. Some people can jump right in and they feel comfortable about it. Some people can want to hold back for a while because they need to, and then when they're feeling comfortable, they open up to the degree that they want. And so it's like it's a permission, but it's also, I think, that they experience there's a sense of safety in which people can feel vulnerable, and that's very, very important.
Yeah. The title of the Tuesday time that I get to spend with the congregation on Facebook is called Wandering Toward Wonder, in part because in my mind, discipleship it's a lifelong journey, right? We're always kind of learning as we go along, and I love the way that what dealing with loss and transition is doing is both helping people understand that they don't have to wander by themselves, right? They don't go on this journey alone, and giving them the freedom to grow along the way, right? So do you see that kind of growth and that kind of like long-term transformation in dealing with loss and transition?
Yes, I see. I see relationships forming that deepen outside of the group. And I may have come across this quote that was, it might have been through practicing spirituality. It might have been something that you mentioned, Will, but it was an African proverb that said, saying something about, like, if you want to go far, you can, no, if you want to go fast, you can go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. And it's just, emphasizing just that importance of a sense of community and sharing deeply. I'm not sure if I answered your question, but
no, yeah. That's so beautiful, and I think a helpful reminder for so many of us in a time in our world, in a time where for many of us individuality is the defining factor of how we deal with everything, including our lament, right? We kind of pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, fix it yourself. I will be the master of my own fate, and dealing with loss and transition is offering a radically different way of confronting the real deep hurt that we feel, right? It's helping people learn that it's okay to not be okay with other people.
Yeah.
And in so doing, right, in that work of vulnerability and authenticity, finding new strength, both for seasons of lament and seasons of joy, which is just so beautiful.
It's a paradox. I mean,
Yeah.
It is a paradox by being more vulnerable that you can actually get stronger and be more open. And it's cyclical, and it's you find yourself getting to one stage, but then there's another vulnerability. It's sort of like it continues to go, and we continue to grow.
And of course, in the journey, there are moments when you're the one lamenting and you need the people to come alongside you. And then as you learn what it's like to be supported, you're then able to be a better support for someone when they're the ones experiencing the lament, right? That kind of cyclical experience.
Yes.
Discipleship, where we're always giving and receiving.
Yes. And what I had shared with you earlier, Will, too, it's about that, and my role in this is a facilitator, but how much of it relies on the group. I may perceive, and I've been trained to have certain skills, but the group sometimes can see things, or members might see something that I've missed that has been helpful. And so there's always a degree of humbleness and humility about this, and really surprise in a good way how much the group helps each other, and that no one person is really holding the power there, or and how much we really do need each other to be our best selves. How much we need each other. Another paradox.
Yeah. Well, we're coming up on the end of our time together. If you've got questions for Jeff or would like to learn more about dealing with loss and transition, you can email Jeff at lossandtransition at foundryumc.org. And Jeff, I want to end with one final question for you, which is, as you think about all that you've learned in this work of facilitating this group, in this work of journeying with other people in lament, what do you feel like those who are with us today could benefit from most or learn from most right now in the midst of all that's going on in our world from this gift of communal lament?
I would say if you can learn, it's to find a group, whether it's through the loss and transition group, but another person, another group that you can feel a degree of safety, develop a group of safety or feeling of safety with, and be able to share. And I think that can be transformative to people's lives, whether that's through a church group or an outside group. That's what I would say.
Well, Jeff, on behalf of our congregation, thank you for the ways that you're helping people model discipleship together and lament together. It's such a profound gift. And thank you for taking the time to be with us today.
Well, I appreciate this, and I also thank Foundry for leading me into this work, because it's been transformative in my life. So I'm very grateful for that. So thank you.
Absolutely. Before we sign off today, friends, we have a couple of invitations to future ministry we want to make sure that you've got. Jeff also works with Pastor Kelly in our hospitality and congregational care to help make sure that all kinds of support and ministry is available for folks at Foundry. There is a prayer retreat coming up today at 6:30 p.m. You can still register for that on our website. We're going to drop the link in the comments section now so that you can sign up for that if you'd like. We also want to make sure that you know that we've got Holy Week services coming up. It's hard to believe, right, Jeff? But Easter is upon us again. So if you want to learn more about all of our Holy Week services, Monday, Thursday, and Good Friday at 7 o'clock on all the places you normally watch worship, and of course Easter Sunday, you can visit the link that you can see on the screen now, or that we'll drop in the comments. We hope that you'll join us. We want to make sure that you join us next week here at Wandering Toward Wonder as we welcome Dr. Izetta Autumn Mobley, who was last week's Linton Lecturer on Lament. Dr. Mobley is a critical race scholar and scholar of history who will be visiting with us more about the work of lament and racial justice, and in the pursuit of racial justice both locally and globally. So you can join us next week to be with Dr. Mobley. And then finally, if you have been a part of our Foundry Women's Retreat before, you may be used to going out to the Priestfield Center in West Virginia. Can't do that this year, but we are offering a virtual women's retreat. We're going to drop the link for that registration in the comments as well, so that you can register for that. And again, that's just a great way to build community and the kind of trust and vulnerability that Jeff was talking about as we both experience the fullness of life, joy and lament, and sorrow and peace together. So Jeff, thank you again, friends. Thank you for joining us as we wandered around a bit and experienced and thought through this experience of communal lament. Until next time, remember, be gentle with yourselves. God loves you, and we love you, and blessings on the journey. Bye for now.
Bye.